Hello everyone, this is as usual Łukasz or Luki from True Bodybuilding, and as always I'll probably be a bit boring, but I wanted to remind you right at the start of this video that everything I'm going to share here is purely my opinion, my personal theory, my approach, which I've developed over many years of experience and years of working with hundreds of people. I've also experimented on myself. Well, I base my approach on both practical experience primarily and on what we understand from physiology. If someone has a different opinion and has convincing arguments for it, then I absolutely respect that. I have no problem with that at all. I also want to remind you that this is not some revealed truth, right? And I'm not saying that I'm right and everyone else is wrong or anything of that nature. Also, this is absolutely not to be taken as medical advice. I am not a doctor, and you should treat this material solely as educational and informational content. All right then, let's move on to the main topic to avoid making this too long. HCG. Why did I decide to bring up this topic at all? I decided to bring it up because it was requested in a comment, and also because, as I often see in social media, it's a subject that is very, very interesting to people. So I thought I'd share my thoughts on this from my own experience, and so some say to use HCG throughout the cycle, others say only between cycles. Well, some others, they claim that you shouldn't use it at all. Only if, let's say, someone actually wants to have children, right? Then that's when you should introduce a specific protocol and start using this HCG. Well, the truth is that each of these schools exists out there, it functions, and everyone, questions often arise as to which theory is the correct one. Today I'm going to show you my approach, which is mainly based on practical experience. I'm not saying it's necessarily correct. So first point, what happens to the testicles when using androgenic anabolic steroids? To truly understand the purpose of HCG, you first need to grasp one very specific concept. When someone begins to use androgens, the body then stops producing two crucial hormones, LH and FSH. These are hormones that come from the pituitary gland, which under normal circumstances essentially you could literally just say that they tell the testes, produce testosterone and produce sperm cells. Yes, that's right. When these hormones are not present, the testes simply stop being stimulated, and that's the problem. And as a result of this, we experience a significant drop in libido. No, wait, my apologies, not a drop in libido, but rather a decrease in testosterone production within the testes, also a decrease in sperm production. And then the testes themselves, after some time, they actually begin to shrink, right? So what happens is atrophy. And this is a really important point. I don't think I've ever heard anyone discuss this before. Sperm production requires a very high level of testosterone, but specifically within the testicle itself, not in the bloodstream, in the testicle. Even dozens of times higher than the level that we typically have circulating in our bloodstream. That's why someone might have an enormous amount of testosterone while they are on a cycle, yes, in their bloodstream. And at the very same time, their sperm production could be very, very significantly limited. And this is precisely where the significance of HCG emerges. What exactly will HCG be doing? HCG functions in a very similar manner. One could even say it's almost identical to the LH hormone. It's essentially like a slightly synthetic version of LH, which means it sends a clear signal to the testes. Hey, you guys need to get to work. ASAP. And this way, the testes will continue to produce testosterone locally. Locally, they won't shrink, and spermatogenesis itself will also be less inhibited. So, in short, you could describe it. We are able to maintain some of the natural function of the testicles as a result of this. And that's precisely why this is the main reason for which, or rather from which, well, in my own clinical practice, I must say, I'm quite a strong proponent of HCG. And based on my practical, so to speak, experience and the observations I've made, small doses of HCG actually offer several very real and tangible benefits. The first, of course, is fertility, isn't it? Steroids, as we've already discussed here, well, as I said, yes, as we mentioned earlier, they very often weaken the production of sperm, sometimes even very significantly. This is, of course, an individual matter, right? And everything here is highly individual, but sometimes in certain people, it's very pronounced. They can cause almost complete infertility. Well, in practice, I've actually witnessed quite a significant number of instances where individuals conceived children while continuously being on a cycle, and a very potent one at that. And in many of these cases, HCG was used regularly. Now the question is, does this guarantee fertility? Of course not. Well, but it very definitely, truly and significantly increases the chances that fertility will be there, right? The second thing, I think, is a very important issue for many men. Simply from the feedback, even from what I've read over the years from my clients, from my mentees, or from friends in the industry. The second thing is the size of the testicles. Without LH, as we discussed, the testicles shrink. And well, some people are simply bothered by that, right? Many guys openly say that this causes them mental discomfort, and HCG helps maintain testicular function and their size too, to a much greater extent. The third thing is libido. Here's something, a very interesting thing that I truly say very, very often, that someone is on a cycle or even on TRT. All right, so looking at the test results here, I'm pleased to say they're looking very good. Your testosterone levels, I can tell you, are actually quite high, and your estradiol and your prolactin levels, I'm happy to report, are all well within the normal healthy range. But despite all of that, this individual is expressing concerns, Kako, saying that something just isn't quite right. They're mentioning that their libido, their sex drive, is noticeably weaker. And also that the actual sexual sensations themselves, they're simply not as strong as they used to be. And very often it happens that such a person starts administering HCG. They are definitely noticing very significant improvements. Why exactly is this particular situation unfolding? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, we don't fully comprehend the precise reasons why this is actually happening. It's probably it's about hormones that are produced directly within the testes themselves, or perhaps what we refer to as neurosteroids. And this is, I think, precisely where we find a very, very interesting question. And just regarding those neurosteroids, the ones that I was just talking about and mentioned earlier. But more on that in a moment. The fourth thing is your well-being. Simply, many people also say that after adding HCG, they generally have better concentration and a better mood. More clear and pure mind, you know. And that's where these theories emerged, not just mine, about pregnenolone and neurosteroids, which I mentioned earlier, just a moment ago. Well, is this something that's been 100% definitively proven? Well, no, not entirely. But the observations, that is the practical experience, they are consistently repeatable. And that, in my opinion, is the most important thing, right? Because we've seen countless times how certain theories, the so-called bro science from the bodybuilding community, which had been circulating for years within the bodybuilding world, were later confirmed by science and scientific research.
So I think that something might be happening in this case too.
Now let's turn our attention to the dosage. What kind of doses do I personally tend to use? I am actually a strong proponent of utilizing smaller doses consistently over an extended period. And most often it's something in the range of 250 units administered 2 to 3 times per week. Zoci, either 125 or 250 units every other day. On average, these quantities usually amount to about 500 to 750 units weekly. And this is based on observations and practical experience. A gentle stimulation of the testicles without overdoing it. If someone is working, so to speak, specifically on fertility, at a given moment particularly needs this, is trying for a child, then the doses can be increased to, let's say, 1,500, 2,000 units per week. Why is it that I am not a proponent of using such high doses of HCG? So in bodybuilding, for many years, it was very popular, as far as I can remember, to use HCG in very, very, very high doses. Even certain fertility protocols, and I'm using air quotes here, were circulating widely online. And how exactly did that look, for example? So let's say every 8 to 10 weeks, 5, 10, or 15 units broken down into doses. For example, 1,000 units every other day, or 2,500 units. I'm not entirely certain of the exact frequency, but it's something like every third or fourth day, or perhaps even as often as 3 times in a single week. And in my opinion, this is a much worse approach because the natural age hormone in the body acts in pulses. And such large doses simply cause very strong stimulation of receptors. And this can lead firstly to issues with elevated stress, a worse sense of well-being, and even a decrease in receptor sensitivity, or even, well, the impairment of Leydig cells. And then you can actually end up with infertility. Therefore, in practice, it is often considered better and certainly safer to administer smaller doses of medication on a more regular basis. Now, the crucial question is, does HCG actually have the effect of increasing estradiol levels in the body? Yes, it can indeed lead to an elevation in estradiol, primarily because it significantly stimulates the production of testosterone within the testes. It's not through the process of aromatization, but rather directly within the testes themselves. A certain portion of this testosterone, it can also undergo aromatization. It's also important to remember one crucial thing, that the estradiol which is produced within the testes can be quite significantly more challenging to control with aromatase inhibitors than the estradiol that's formed through aromatization, you know? But with dosages in the range of 500, 700, or even up to 1,000 units weekly, of course, this always depends on individual preferences. This increase is usually quite small, and it probably won't present any significant problem. For most people, it will likely even go completely unnoticed, especially when we are, for example, in the off-season, right? Well, in my opinion, the advantages are quite clearly much greater than any potential drawbacks from implementing this kind of approach. Now, the next question is HCG absolutely necessary? No, pause. You know, there are people who, for many, many years, have been using steroids without HCG, and they simply don't experience any fertility problems at all. I personally know many such individuals, truly many. Well, biology is very individual. In the individual predispositions are an extremely important matter. However, from my experience, it seems that most people will benefit from the stimulation of the testicles throughout the entire process. It is simply more reasonable. So if you'd like to read even more on this particular subject, then I'd like to invite you to an article on the forum. Just a few days ago, it was made available by me on True Bodybuilding. Everything is described there in much greater detail. And of course, there's also a dedicated space for discussion and a topic to discuss. You can share your own experiences, or perhaps ask some individual questions, if you have any. Links, as always, to the forum, and also discount codes for the companies with which I cooperate, you will find, as always, in the description of this video. And if this content was helpful to you in any way, if you enjoyed it, then please leave a like, a comment, share the video, or subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so yet. It would mean a lot to me. All right, so that's everything from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and a very special thank you to those of you who managed to stay with me right until the very, very end. Well, best regards, and I'll see you in the next video.